You know, Mark, some people will look at the results of Week 8 in the NFL and say, oh, man, look at all these blowouts. What do I say? Look at all this fun.
I'm with you. I think it separates the wheat from the chaff, if that's how people say that.
That was what I was thinking, too. Wheat Chaff Flagship Show starts now. Hey, welcome to Heed the Call, an NFL podcast. The Week 8 Flagship Show, Sunday night, recapping every game that was played in our league. Dan Hanzus here with Marc Sessler, Conor Orr, Justin Graver on the ones and twos. The whole squad's here. Sessy, I got a Jet shirt out of Mothballs. It's a different type of Sunday here at Heed the Call.
You deserve to be wearing that mothball-ridden shirt at this point. You are one of the few people that can say that you saw intriguing, alluring, close football today, and I congratulate you.
Very good call. Connor, yes, we're going to get to Jets-Bengals later, a one-point game that went down to the final minute, but not every game was that way. And we're going to get into all, but still a lot of fun football angles and subplots. Even if the games weren't barn burners in Week 8, still going to give you a good hour and a half of football talk right now.
And this might be a bad take, but I actually enjoyed this Sunday more than other ones because I think that sometimes in the absence of when you have those massive like 42, 41 point games, a lot of times it's just like one defensive breakdown after another, and it's almost like delirious to the mind, whereas this was just easier to, I guess, encapsulate in like a nice little podcast.
This felt pulled from like the 80s or 90s, where it was like, you know, not everyone is glommed together. We're going to drop some hammers on some people that deserve to have hammers dropped on them.
Yeah.
Wow, this is all a nice tease, I think, for the theme of the week to come up in just a little bit. But before we get to that, let's start with the last game that was played on Sunday. It was Sunday Night Football from Acrisure. Acrisure. Change that name. It was the game that was supposed to be, at least if you were watching the coverage, the pregame coverage, a welcome home coming for Aaron Rodgers, even though it wasn't in Green Bay, but it was the Packers, and it was Aaron Rodgers, and the first time he was facing off the team where he became a legend. And it all went to script until Jordan Love said, and hey, don't forget about me. I'm the young gun. 26 years old, and he has 20 consecutive completions in this game at one point in the second half, all part of a huge 28-point explosion for Green Bay, who go on the road and take it to the Steelers 35-25. Love finished 29 of 37 for 360, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions, just under 10 yards per attempt. And Connor, while Aaron Rodgers certainly didn't play poorly in this game, his stats look fine, the Packers were the team that ended up making the statement on the night that was supposed to be Rodgers.
Yeah, and it's weird. It's like I think Aaron Rodgers is doing what he was advertised to be doing, right? Like I think he's doing just about what they thought he was going to do. I think the surprise here has been just the kind of the breakdown of all of the other older players on Pittsburgh's roster. And if you look at the stats, I think they're 17th or something like that in second half scoring. They're 20th in second half points allowed. This is just a team that seems to slow down over the course of a game. They tried blitzing Jordan Love, which was hilariously ineffective. They just don't have guys that can get there from the secondary anymore. And I just see this pronounced lack of team speed or hustle or whatever it is. Maybe not hustle, but just like athleticism at this point. And I think that's really what's showing up more than anything Rodgers related to me.
What a total collapse by the Steelers. If you yank out 2 missed field goals by the Packers, this is an utter blowing down the house scenario. Like you give up 3 straight touchdown drives and 2 field goal drives to end the game. This Steelers team can't rely on what they've relied on for a very long time. And if you don't get something special out of the offense, to Connor, to your point, it's well said. They just don't seem like a 4-quarter type team against better teams like this.
Yeah, and I thought it was telling that And I certainly have no issue with men that have some gray in their hair or in their beard. But they had a Cam Hayward interview before the game, and he's got like almost like a full white beard at this point. And you have TJ Watt, who a couple years ago you would be watching the ISO cams on him showing what a game wrecker he is, but now they're doing that with Micah Parsons on the other side. Jalen Ramsey's obviously getting up there in years. They suffer a big hit in their secondary when Deshaun Elliott goes out. I thought so the Steelers, and they're 4-3 now, and just like we've been talking about, and we'll talk about the Ravens later. Cincinnati obviously had a pretty devastating setback today, so the AFC North remains wide open and Pittsburgh remains in first place, but this is not a team that's going to, you would imagine, coast to a division title. It might be anything but. I thought the biggest play of this game, because, yes, things started well for Pittsburgh, and they go into the half up 16-7. They have the ball to start the second half. And then in the third quarter, they go 3 and out. Green Bay takes over. And they're facing a 3rd and 5, and this is when the game changes. And a shotgun, Jordan Love drops back, buys some time, hits Tyler Kraft, who had a huge game, who he pushes off, no flag, that's fine, that's football, catches it, goes 59 yards down the play. It's the same play Elliott gets hurt. That ends with a 59-yard game that puts them deep into Green Bay territory. They cash in, and they were off and running from that point. So, these games sometimes have an inflection point. It was that play where the quarterback Love buys time and hits Kraft, who's become like a real dog, Connor, in this offense, and it's an offense that we've talked about a lot. Tucker Kraft, I'm sorry. We've talked about how there's no like alpha dog here, but when Tucker Kraft can give you 7 for 143 and 2 touchdowns in a game like this under the lights, it's an eye-opening performance. Not
only 143, but 137. I think after the catch, like all of his yardage came after he received the ball, which is nuts. And this isn't to take away from Love, who I think that was a franchise record for consecutive completions. It was 20 in a row at one point. And NFL.com strung together all 20 completions, and it took almost 5 minutes of like film time to put together, which is mind-boggling. But 2 of them, one was that air ball to Kraft where he was not even looking, and then a similar one to Christian Watson. And so I'm not saying that luck is involved. I'm more saying that the depth of the talent, the receiving talent that's on this roster, I think is really starting to show its head. And if you spread teams out enough, Kraft is just going to eat you alive. I mean, that was a Kittle-esque performance tonight.
It was. And Dan, I love that you pointed out that moment in the game, those series, because then after that, with the Steelers on the ropes, DK Metcalf, who's been good with the Steelers, what does he do? Stick his finger in the helmet of Quay Walker and gets a personal foul that ends a critical drive for them and put them deep in 3rd down territory, and they melt away. And the game was essentially salted at that point. Like, that was your last chance to kind of get back into this. And, this is not a team that can make sloppy personal mistakes. It was a fight-ridden contest tonight, but you got to keep your cool. Like, you can't do that if you're these Pittsburgh Steelers.
Packers now 5-1-1, and they get the Panthers at home in Week 9, and we'll see if Andy Dalton's the starter there or if Bryce Young comes back. And now the Steelers 4-3, like I said, and now they get the Colts next week. So, yeah, the AFC North wide open, and that defense of Pittsburgh stinks. Our buddy Sheil Kapadia. Steelers defense is now 27th in EPA per drive and 29th in success rate. I mean, they finally go out and get a quarterback for the first time since Ben Roethlisberger was still like an actual human football player. And now the defense completely falls off a cliff. It has to be very frustrating for Mike Tomlin, and I wonder if he saw it coming. But either way, you can't, as good as Rodgers has been relative to expectations, he's not good enough, and the offense isn't good enough to deal with what's happening on the defensive side of the ball. And once again, this looks like a team that's 9-8.
Those are like my statistics as a podcaster, those EPA numbers that you just mentioned. It's very concerning.
Oh, Mark. So self-deprecating. So humble. All right. There we go. So that game, that was the start. Okay, that was Sunday Night Football. Now we're going to take a quick break, and we're going to get to all the other Sunday games. Stay right there. Let's have some fun. Man, Mark, I used to think paying too much for wireless was just part of life. You pick a provider, you sign a contract, and you cross your fingers every month hoping your bill isn't outrageous. And then I found Mint Mobile. If you're still overpaying for wireless, it's time to say yes to saying no.
Absolutely. Mint says no to contracts, no to overages, no to hidden fees, no BS, and somehow I'm getting premium wireless for just $15 a month. Mint plans include high-speed data and unlimited talk and text on the nation's largest 5G networks. I've been using it, Dan, and honestly, the coverage has been every bit as strong as my old provider, just without the sticker shock when the bill arrives. And switching was easy. I kept my phone, my number, and all my contacts.
You're telling me, Mark, in that concrete jungle of Hollywood with all the skyscrapers and the mountains and the earthquakes, perfect reception.
Better.
Wow. Ready to say yes to saying no? Make the switch at mintmobile.com/heed the call. That's mintmobile.com/heed the call.
Upfront payment of $45 required, equivalent to $15 a month. Limited time new customer offer for first 3 months only. Speeds may slow above 35 gigabytes on unlimited plan. Taxes and fees extra. See Mint Mobile for details.
All right, we are back. Sunday Night Football in the rear view. Now we dive into the rest of the Week 8 Sunday schedule. But before we do that, per tradition, Marc Sessler will give us the Week 8 theme of the week.
And what a tradition it is. My theme of the week is, here's your buttocks, here's my foot. To repeat, here's your buttocks, here's my foot.
This might be my favorite one of the season. Easy to understand, and really buttocks in general is just a wonderful word that doesn't get used enough. Connor, what does this one mean for the people that maybe did not put it together?
My first inclination is to say this is a weekend of blowouts. I believe only one of the games in our slate ended in a single score in the early and afternoon games. But with Mark, the possibility that there is something deeply sexual and sinister also exists. So I'm leaving all options open until he explains it.
Yeah, it's almost like the first, since it's repeated twice, perhaps the first one's about the NFL Week 8 Sunday. The second one is just hyper personal, like from the weekend in Hollywood.
Okay. Well, I'll veer towards the former. Like, I don't know if I recall a weekend like this. And Roger Goodell's NFL is 2 slab 10 commandment, like 10 commandment ruling that every game must end in the final 2 minutes. Like, we got a bunch of ass kickings. And if you're going to kick someone's ass, you're putting their foot in their buttocks. And it happened all over the place today.
Yeah, but Connor's point stands. Yes, Connor.
I was just saying, always nice to do that, like right after the FBI investigates the other major American sports league, just to be like,
Thank you. We talked about that on Thursday night. Like all of a sudden Thursday night turned into a blowout, and then all these games are the way they are. We're not saying anything, but we kind of are. No. All right. So with that said, nice little transition to a blowout at Mile High that I guess you could see coming. If you've been watching the Cowboys defensively all season, yes, this was always a possibility. Let's go to Invesco Field, something like that. Well, it started promising for the Cowboys. They picked off Bo Nix on the first possession of the game for Denver on a pass that was thrown behind his intended receiver. But that was really the last mistake Nix made. From that point on, he was dominant, throwing 4 touchdowns. He got... in addition to his production, J.K. Dobbins went over 100, and he went for 111 yards and 15 carries. Rookie R.J. Harvey finally punching the ticket for all those preseason film watchers who drafted him in their leagues by scoring 3 times. And the Denver Broncos roll to a 44-24 win over the Dallas Cowboys. The Broncos now 6-2 and undefeated in 4 games. In Denver, the Cowboys fall to 3-4-1. Connor, yes, this is a game we all talked about heading into the weekend. Ooh, this could be a fun shootout. We all saw it as a close game, but this was the version of the Cowboys that is hard to take seriously. When the defense cannot make a stop and the offense isn't perfect, it leads to bad things for quote unquote America's team.
So this is now one of the 3 worst defenses through 8 games in Dallas Cowboys history. It was 1960, 2020, and now in terms of the worst 8-game point totals allowed in Cowboys history. And I think what really, I don't know, solidified for me was the fact that this is so backbreaking for the offense. And if you look at the offense in the third quarter, when you're like, okay, it's a 2-score game, they can get back into this quickly. The things that would be there, the effort plays, right? Like, is your running back blocking in the backfield and protecting your quarterback when he's about to get crushed by a defensive end? And the answer is no. And I think that at this point, to me, it solidifies the fact that, like, you know, some of these guys on offense are like, if the defense isn't going to do anything, why are we just continuing to come here and to toil?
It feels like there's a couple teams around the league that are defense heavy, and very frustrated with their own offensive attacks, and for good reason. To me, it's like, I don't think this is the game that makes me think that the Broncos are like, it's not the prove it game for them, but to go out and put 426 yards on this team and play the way they did on offense, like, I'm looking at the Broncos a little bit differently, but this was a shattered Cowboys secondary as well. But to Denver's credit, they took complete control of that situation, and turn it into a torture chamber.
Yeah, I think Dallas was down 3 of their starting defensive backs in this game by the time you got to the second half. And it, you know, for a team that already didn't have a high level of talent at that position, now to lose it through attrition and injuries, yeah, you're very vulnerable. And Nick's just had his way. And I'll say this about the Broncos. We've talked about this. They've been, despite a 6-2 record, which is tremendous, one of the best in football, they have been, depending on how you view them, a little bit of a paper tiger at times. Or is this a team that can be trusted? This is the type of game where it's like, okay, I could kind of see it a little bit more now. And
right.
And they have an identity. They have the ability to light you up on offense. And the defense, even they lost Patrick Surtain in this game. Let's keep an eye on that. It was like an arm-shoulder issue. Also turned his ankle at one point, so he got beat up in this game. Obviously need him to solidify everything on the defensive end. But, Connor, I'll just pound the table again for Bo Nix. The touchdown pass he threw to Pat Bryant late in the second quarter is a touch pass that not many quarterbacks deliver. And I just think that he is the true wild card in the AFC, because if he levels up his game and their defense continues to do what it's doing with the coaching staff that they have, the Broncos really are a title contender to me. And I just think he's better than he gets credit for. I really think that. I think people are looking to he's like one of those guys that people like to try to poke holes in his game, but let's appreciate what he's been able to do in these money situations, and especially the last 5 quarters.
Yeah, so a couple thoughts. By the way, I think 77 points over the last 5 quarters of football for the Broncos, which is absolutely ridiculous. But you're pounding the table for Knicks in particular. I'm pounding the table for the Broncos rookie class, which is really what got me fired up about this game, because it's not just Harvey. When Pat Surtain goes down, I think we're seeing how good Jahdae Barron can actually be, their first-round pick. 50% completion rate allowed going into this game. Justin, I knew you were going to do that. Steve Sarkisian's going to leave Texas in a couple of months and take an NFL job.
Let him go.
But Jahdae Barron has been kind of creeping onto my radar. A couple weeks ago when they beat the Eagles, he absolutely just blew up a screen pass, and you looked over and you're like, who the F was that? It wasn't Patrick Surtain. And then Pat Bryant, another rookie with the touchdown catch. And so to me, Bo Nix evolves as a lot of these other guys do. And RJ Harvey's perfect example. Not a lot in terms of touches, but when you saw the way he was used, you start looking at the Alvin Kamara comps, which are very obvious. But the fact that if Bo Nix is now in a rough patch and he has one of those games where he's not hitting it, RJ Harvey is instant offense. And he could be a 15, 20, 25 touch Christian McCaffrey guy. And I think we saw kind of the underpinnings of that based on how he was used today.
That's perfectly said. And I think that Peyton wants to create the offenses that have worked for him in the past. So it's okay to make a comp to who could become like the Alvin Kamara in this offense and stuff. And there's another throw that Nick's made, Dan, to your point. Like, it was a 25-yard touchdown to Troy Franklin that was just beautiful. And it's like, he was just a flat-out rookie a year ago, and he's growing up game by game. And we're seeing that, and this offense and this team is changing. And this is a conference of good but not great teams. So why not Denver? It's early, but why not?
You know what he did too that I loved? As soon as he threw the touchdown to Pat Bryant, he sprints down the field and he's screaming at the official, "Give me the ball. I need the ball." And then he runs over and he shoves it in Pat Bryant's tummy and hugs him. I'm like, I love this guy. That's great. That's what's on. That's what he's thinking.
Leadership. Love that. Man, a good day for the team of HTC. Am I right?
Allegedly.
You're getting there.
All right, let's move to Baltimore, where the Ravens were.
Oh, God.
Where the Ravens were in virtual must-win territory. It's weird. Go for it, do your best. America's counting on you. Stars and stripes are here to stay. Evil is on the run.
Evil is on the run.
My dad, I was on the phone with my dad. It was his birthday last week. And happy birthday, Keith Hanzus. The Jets gave you a gift. And he's like, "Danny, you were singing a song on the show the other day." He's like, I don't remember that. He's like, "Yeah, he's singing a song, and the other guys, they were just kind of looking up in the air. I don't know if they liked it." I was like, "I don't know. Maybe they didn't, Dad. I don't really remember any of this." "Yeah, I noticed it was funny." I was like, "Thanks, Dad."
Well, hold on a minute here. Like, and I,
I'm just this is.
But your dad is one of my favorite people in America. But like,
it's a great job backdooring a complaint in there. Yeah,
right, exactly. Like,
no complaint.
You threw him into a scenario where we have to think about him, not you.
That's just the conversation. That's sure. He just made me think of it.
How did you want us to respond? What could we have done to been more
just like a knowing nod? Here, pump up this song. Pump the song up.
Well, you got little Justin bobbing his head up there. Like, is that not enough?
Little Justin.
Yeah.
All right. Yes, the Ravens needed a win, and they got it. Good for them. Good for the Ravens, because shenanigans, tomfoolery afoot with the injury report for the Ravens, who list Lamar Jackson as a full participant in practice on Friday, and then by Sunday, he's downgraded to out. So it's Snoop Huntley on the field, and to Snoop Huntley's credit, he made big plays in this game and ran the offense efficiently. Derrick Henry added 2 touchdowns, and yes, the Ravens get the win they desperately need, 30-16 over the Bears, who are whatever, by the way.
They might be.
Miss me with the Bears hype, because I know there's a lot of that coming out of the Midwest. They were trying to throw coal into that steam train. Is it run on coal train? I don't know.
Wow.
But it's just like, let's play better.
Sure.
It's not just about the wins. Anyway, yeah, so this was a game that was very tight in the fourth quarter. And as I'm watching it, because the Ravens played from ahead from the time they score a touchdown midway through the second quarter, a Henry touchdown, they're playing from ahead. And then the Bears score a touchdown. They cut it to 16-13. And then the Ravens answer back. They score a touchdown again. And then the Bears kick a field goal to get it to 23-16. And I'm thinking to myself, man, this is it. This is the season for the Ravens. They have to find a way to close out this game. And to their credit, they did. They go on a 9-play, 66-yard drive. Takes a little under 3 minutes. It ends with another Henry touchdown with 2:09 to play, and they get it done. So credit 2 things on this. You got to credit the Baltimore defense, which has been fairly maligned for their struggles this season. And you got to credit Snoop Huntley, because what this team has really lacked, in addition, they've lacked a lot this year, obviously, including healthy players, but a quarterback that can just proficiently run the offense. And I like this little clip from John Harbaugh at the end of his media gathering, Tyler Huntley was waiting to go up on the dais himself, and Harbaugh kind of motioned to his quarterback. Check this out.
I don't think you play any better than that. That was one of those all-time great performances, man. I'm so proud of you. We'll talk about the phone call sometime, but he did it.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd call it an all-time great performance, guys, but for John Harbaugh, it must have felt that way because he knew, just as I knew and many other people knew going into this game and as you watch this game, that their season was on the line. And now as the schedule softens up, you could start to see it, especially if Lamar gets back for Thursday.
It was great to see also Nate Wiggins make a huge play in this game. Like someone from this defense, they got Roquan Smith back. Like you can start to feel it and see it. Like had they lost this today, I am singing a different song and floating their boat out into the deep seas, into death. But now it's like you're still hanging around. You made this work. And yeah, like they know Tyler Huntley really well. Like he traveled beyond them and came back to the team. And like he did exactly what you'd want an NFL backup quarterback to do today. And it was like they could run their offense to some degree. Derrick Henry was effective. And your season is alive, where I am left with more questions about the Bears, actually, about how they handled the end of this game. I feel like the Bears a little bit under Ben Johnson, that they are, and this happens to a lot of teams, but it's like the early scripted session of their offense looks really, really good. And maybe that's what they can be. But then they seem to float away a little bit at times. And this was one where it's like, you're just in the middle of the pack, Chicago. And I'm okay with that. You're not. I am.
Very similar to the Jaguars to me, where if they can run the ball and they can absolutely tilt the scales with turnovers, they're going to be really hard to beat. And I think they're probably a little bit more talented front to back than Jacksonville is too. But the fact that they don't get that on a weekly basis and that no team gets that on a weekly basis means that every few weeks you're going to have these losses to the Ravens, especially when, I mean, you brought up a great point with Wiggins, and it's just every little guy that they get back unlocks Kyle Hamilton just a little bit more. We talked about that on Thursday. He had an unbelievable rush in this game. Like, guy's a monster, and I think he can take over the back half of this season.
Yeah, the Bears will rue how they handled the first quarter of this game because they dominated play. The Ravens had just one drive, a 3-and-out, and Chicago goes into the red zone twice on a 13-play drive, an 11-play drive. They both stall in the red zone, and they have to settle for field goals. And yeah, and then as this game was late in the game, just a lack of urgency in a general sense. Like you don't want to put it all on Caleb Williams, but I feel like the last 2 weeks again, we're like it's one of those like one step forward, two steps back with him. And while I still think that there is reason to be optimistic about this offense because of the play caller and because of the personnel. One of the major subplots I think to watch in the NFC the rest of the way is like, where does Williams go from here? Does he trend upward? Does he truly regress? Or are we starting to get a clear idea of who he is, which is he's just kind of this guy that kind of stays in the middle, which is not what the Chicago Bears thought they were getting with the first overall pick. So not sounding any alarm bells. I thought this was even though I don't know if they were favored or not. I can't remember. I think Baltimore was. But I knew this was going to be a tough game for Chicago, even with the Ravens being in a bad way because Baltimore needed it that badly. But they just didn't play clean football, and too often that's been the case for them this season, even though they have a win.
The Ravens were favored because Vegas cannot see anything but a team that's apparently going to the AFC Championship. So apparently they see what I don't see. But
I'll push back on that because I know you've been trying to throw dirt on them for weeks and weeks. I'm not saying they're a Super Bowl team, but they are favored the next 7 weeks. I just read like the schedule is very soft now. Lamar should be back. Roquan Smith's back, where the defense is rounding into form. We're talking to Kyle Hamilton getting back to himself. Like that, you don't have to squint in that division, your AFC North, Mark, to see the Ravens going on a run.
It is.
Whether you
I'll
want
tell
them
you
to
what.
or not.
No, it's such a predictable, like latter part of the season thing that they win like 6 in a row, and we've got to verbalize it and talk about it nonstop. I'll leave it there. It's an annoyance. It's all the time. Every year, it's the same thing.
Hey man, that's what we do.
It's hard to bet against a team that can. It's hard to bet against a team that can manipulate the injury report to their advantage and just seemingly get away with it. We'll see what happens there.
Florio reported on that Sunday Night Football pregame show, Maron, that they could face suspensions, fines, and even the loss of draft picks. And I'm like, whoa. I think everyone's a little freaked out with this gambling scandal right now, and there's just a general like vibe that everybody be on their P's and Q's, and we don't want Patel like on our ass, you know.
Well, it was great because Harbaugh after the game was like, it was an honest mistake, but also I'm not involved in it whatsoever. So don't look over here.
Hands washed, everything fine.
Well, what will happen is the Ravens will get 5 compensatory picks out of it, as they do every year. Something pro-Ravens will occur.
The Ravens will get 5 compensatory picks out of this injury report
somehow.
Why are you so triggered by the Ravens right now? You're fine, buddy. Everything's fine.
Right now? How about since they were like
I know,
my
but you're
team?
Good. Everything's fine. They're only 2-5. You have plenty of time to get really upset about the Ravens.
I know what's going to happen. They're going to win 7 games in a row, and we're going to have to be like, waving our flags all around town.
Okay. Hang in there, Mark. Let's move to Philadelphia. Waving our flags. I have it in my closet. My Baltimore Ravens flag.
Oh.
Caw-caw! Saquon Barkley. Hey, if you were paying attention to the recap last week, I said it. I said, watch Barkley. Watch him in this game. There are 3 or 4 runs last week where it's like he's just missing that big one. It's coming. His first carry against the New York Giants on Sunday, he bust free, 65 yards to the house. He ended up going over 100 yards for the first time this season. Also leaves with a groin injury. Keep an eye on it. But with Barkley leading the way, the Eagles overwhelmed the New York Giants 38-20. Marc Sessler, your thoughts?
Well, considering they just played each other 2 weeks ago, it was a very impressive performance for me from the Eagles. It changed definitively when Cam Skattebo had a visually terrible ankle injury where the foot is not pointing the way that our feet point. And I think I really mean that because we see that and we don't, then they don't replay
Connor.
it. Right. Connor's laughing at it. I don't think entirely, but I think it really affected Jackson Dart. It affected the entire Giants team. It affected what we this whole Giants experience was built on the quarterback and running back. But the Eagles were pretty irrepressible in this game, 428 yards of offense. Before Saquon goes out, you got the Saquon Barkley game, 150 yards, 10.7 yards per carry. That basically was this is last year's Eagles right now with no A.J. Brown. This is last year's Eagles, and they're dominant. And even after Saquon went out, Tank Bigsby comes in and rushes for 104 yards also at 11 plus yards per carry. They just kind of played that script where they caught a lead in a team. They broke the will of the opponent and dominated on the ground. And it was another clean game from Jalen Hurts, 4 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. It's some of these teams, from week to week, I don't know what we're getting, but this Eagles team looking like this is so different than where we were 14. My mind's exploding because it's what happened that night versus this night, but they looked really pure, really clean, and they were dominant.
And, and I agree with you. You saw it with the Skattebo injury, which is terrible, and he's having surgery tonight in Philadelphia on the dislocated ankle. Obviously, his season is over. You saw the reaction, Jackson Dart, shouting angrily down on his knees. The players kind of in disbelief because, it's a bummer of the way this season for the Giants has played out. It's been just a roller coaster ride where things got very exciting when Dart and Skattebo hit the scene together. Malik Neighbors blows out his knee. You have the obviously crusher of all crushers in Denver last week. And now Cam Skattebo suffers a serious lower body injury. So now you lose him, and you just wonder, okay, the Giants still going to be fun to watch? We'll see. We're going to watch it. But the one thing we know, and I think some of this has been a little bit obscured by the excitement around the Giants, is that they're not a good team. They're a bad team. And defensively, for instance, they entered this game 31st in the league, averaging more than 5 yards per carry, and then they give up 277 yards in this game. So it doesn't surprise me that Tank Bigsby or anybody else could continue to run the football well. This is a team that, despite some big names and some big talk about what they could be, struggle on a week-to-week basis in many areas.
The best part about the Scatabo thing was, did you see him on the ground and he's like, someone help me up. He wanted to walk off the field and everyone's like, Jesus, man, your foot's backwards.
Lunatic. God bless him. Get well soon. Hopefully he comes back stronger than ever. Do you want to talk about the latest tush-push situation, Mark?
This pushes me into your camp is what it does.
It tush pushes you?
It tush pushes me into your camp because this was kind of,
welcome.
I guess, does it open the door on showing how hard it is to officiate this? But there was a play where the Eagles, of course, attempt the tush push, and Kayvon Thibodeau, our friend,
that's pushing it, but go ahead.
Hurts fumbled the ball, and he picked it up, and the whistle by the announcers' ears and by everyone's like, it came after, and they called it that he was forward progress, and they nullified the turnover. It's like, it was to me a clear.
And that's the game 7-7, if I'm not mistaken, Mark, at that point. It turns into 7 points for the Eagles, a lead they never relinquish, as I believe. And the reason why it doesn't get overturned is when they call, the same thing happened in the Denver game, and it cost me a damn fantasy touchdown for J.K. Dobbins as R.J. Harvey just scooped them all up on me, where he went into the end zone, but the referee blowed the whistle right before he crossed the goal line, blew the whistle and said his forward momentum had stopped or whatever, and then that's not reviewable. So this is another thing that's not reviewable, and Kayvon Thibodeau, I thought, fairly called out why this doesn't seem to be necessarily something that should be in the game when it's this difficult to officiate.
I don't know. That's some bullshit, man. Honestly, when it comes to that play and what happened, I feel like, the refs, they got a kind of a hard job because they don't know when to stop it, and I think it's tough on defense, obviously, because it's like you stop the first surge, the refs don't blow the whistle. You get the ball out and you take it, now all of a sudden it's, whatever you said, forward progress. So at the end of the day, you just got to keep playing, man. Shit happens. Try to keep giving it your best and live with the results.
Well, they should be able to correct it, though, right? It's just overtly visually wrong to us, and it's like that's what the NFL should find a way to eradicate. We don't need these situations.
Just don't get bodied by Jordan Mailata on that long Saquon Barkley touchdown, then you don't have to worry about being put in those situations. That's what I say.
Fair.
Yeah. I mean, it's poked out clearly. I mean, it's just like...
Right.
How is that not reviewable? Maybe if you don't want to get rid of the tush push because it's a bad optical look because there's one team that can do it and they're the team that won the championship last year, then maybe we need to make some alterations to make it more fairly legislated, whether it's like calling a false start after, a booth check from upstairs. Oh, that was a false start. Or actually, no, the progress hadn't stopped yet when the ball got knocked away. Right now, it seems unofficiable. Which is, I don't know if that's a word, but close enough.
I totally agree with you. Like, if you were to go to a sky judge scenario and you were to hammer the Eagles on false start penalties, or you were to delay the ability to blow the play, you would allow it to extend it to the point where it would be, they wouldn't want to do it because they're going to lose the football at a greater rate, right? I think that's the way that you get it out of the game, because the other way, legislating against it, just leads to mutations of the tush push that don't involve pushing or that just continue to skirt around the rules, make them not want to do it in other ways.
Okay, there you go. So just getting started here. We're going to take a quick break, and when we get back, we're going to dive into the dominant day from the AFC East. Yeah, you heard me. Stay right there. Today's episode is brought to you by Fabletics. If you live in activewear like I do, you know how fast it adds up. One pair of leggings can cost as much as a whole outfit, unless you shop at Fabletics. Their stuff feels super high-end, performs like the expensive brands, but costs way less. When I joined as a Fabletics VIP, that's right, VIP, baby, I got 80% off of everything, which felt wild. And after that, it's about $60 a month, unless I skip. That fee gives me a credit I can use toward a full outfit or bundle worth up to $100. Every month they send me an email. I decide if I want to use my credit or skip. I've even used mine to grab something for my wife. The quality is next level. The no-roll waistband leggings and hoodie are soft, breathable, and actually keep their shape. And I love that Fabletics is carbon neutral and uses recycled fabrics for more than half of their materials.
Yeah, I think that's very nice that you gift your wife. Honestly, once you try Fabletics, you're going to get it. Okay, the quality, the comfort, the value. Treat yourself to gear that looks good, feels good, and doesn't break the bank with Fabletics. Go to fabletics.com/HTC and sign up as a VIP and get 80% off everything. That's fabletics.com/HTC to sign up as a VIP and get 80% off everything. That's fabletics.com/HTC.
All right, we are back. Let us continue on. Week 8, the flagship show. I mentioned the AFC East. Now, I don't know if there's ever going to be a week where our teams all win on the same week. That would be quite a trifecta hit: Jets, Browns, Titans. I didn't think we would see all of the AFC East win anytime, but they all won, plus 75-point differential. So let's roll through the results from that division. 3 blowouts, and yes, the closest game of the week. And before we get to that New York Jets Bengals game, just want to mention quickly, and Connor, you wrote about it beautifully over at SI, so please check it out. Nick Mangold passed away, and this is crazy news. The former star center for the Jets died at 41 after dealing with kidney disease, and I can only imagine how scary that must have been, because it was just like 10 or 12 days ago when he sent out a public appeal, because he needed a kidney. And to essentially know that the clock was ticking against you, and then to end the way it is. So really sad story, really sad backdrop to today in general. Like, Connor, I know you covered the Jets during Mangold's time there, where he was, the key to their offensive line in the middle. I remember I got a chance to meet him in London a few years ago when the Jets were playing the Falcons, and we went to this Jets bar. They were doing something like the day before the game, and he was there, and I was introduced to him, and like I was geeking out a little bit because he's always one of my favorite Jets of that era. And I remember being like charmed by the guy because he seemed uncomfortable being the subject of attention with all these Jets fans, and like he was a very his sensibilities were very Ohioan, like blue collar, and he played that way too. So just a really sad story, losing Nick Mangold at 41.
Yeah, I'll just always remember like that locker room. I started in 2010, so they were coming off the AFC title game, and he was a big deal. And at that point, when you're like the backup Jets reporter, you're kind of like 31st on the roster. I remember like just lingering around one day, and I had a question about like some weird defense that the Packers were running, and I knew that he'd faced something similar in college, and you're just kind of like poking around and looking around in the outskirts, and then he's just like, I see you straggling over there. Come on over here. And just calls me over. I love that. And you sit down next to him, and he breaks it all down for you, and he's just so smart. And those are just things that those little instances of human kindness that I think probably, when strung together, really built the fabric of an incredible life for him. And so it's very sad that we lost someone like that today.
And it's like when someone goes, well, the age of it, his age, and I feel like we deal with this almost monthly with NFL players. But you find out what people really felt about that person. And honestly, like having, we've all met Rex Ryan too here and there, but having hung out with him a little bit, like he just wears his heart on his sleeve. And the way he spoke about Nick Mangold this morning on ESPN, it was like he loved this person. This was a keystone and an absolute core piece of his football journey. And it's just too soon. I mean, there's nothing really you can say that feels right, but like it's like, damn. And to have to go out there online and ask, that they couldn't find a way to get the situation fixed out. But like he was a special person for the Jets, and there aren't that many for the Jets.
No, he was a part of their last winning team, straight up, and now he's gone. And the Jets played with heavy hearts in Cincinnati, which made the results of the game feel a little bit more special. Let's get to Cincinnati. Yes, the Jets entered Sunday as the lone winless team in football, and it certainly looked like that was going to be the case at least one more week, as the Bengals jumped out to a 17-3 lead, and then they were up by, I believe, 14 points late in the third quarter, and then the Jets just do something we haven't seen all season long. I don't know what it was. It was probably a lot of things, and maybe Nick Mangold played a role as well. But they go from down 31-16 with 2:34 to go in the third quarter to putting up 23 points in the fourth quarter, converting two-point conversions, and then getting a stop on Joe Flacco on the final possession for Cincinnati, sealing a 39-38 win. A game that was as important for the Jets organizationally and Aaron Glenn as it was crushing for the Cincinnati Bengals, who, I mean, Connor, like, where do we want to start here? Let's talk a little Cincinnati here, because you have the emotions of going toe-to-toe with the rival Steelers on Thursday Night Football, and Joe Flacco outduels Aaron Rodgers, and then to have a big lead at home against the Jets when, knowing that the division is still there and Joe Burrow is getting better, and to blow this game. This is one of the worst losses by any team all season.
I totally agree. And even down to the last minute, Joe Flacco looked injured, went into the tunnel. Jake Browning put his helmet on. Then Flacco heroically comes back onto the field for that final attempted field goal drive when it was 39-38. And you're thinking to yourself, okay, it's so easy now with the new kickoff to basically get yourself into field goal range. This isn't going to be a problem. And it was the one time this year that I felt like Flacco couldn't get what he wanted from a defense. He couldn't manipulate it in a way to get one of his two guys in single coverage or just to get an easy, quick pass. And credit to the Jets defense. I mean, they did not lock anybody down all game. They were porous on, especially on the run. And for some reason, just kind of solidified there. And God, that is just, it's brutal. That it just shouldn't happen, especially when, and you mentioned it, but how well Cincinnati was running the football. I mean, Samaje Perine was a steamroller in this game. And they're going to,
listen, the Jets, who have been, rightly mocked for their offensive performance in recent weeks. This is the same Jets team that had, minus 10 passing yards a couple weeks ago for an entire game. They roll up 502 yards on the Cincinnati Bengals defense, and that is you cannot take a team seriously. And I know the Jets have some pieces, but by the way, the Bengals also lost this game at home with this big lead against a winless Jets team, up big late in the third quarter. The Jets weren't even playing their two best players, Garrett Wilson and Sauce Gardner, both inactive with injuries. Just like a crazy, crazy loss, and a really nice win for the Jets, Mark, who I'm going to give Aaron Glenn some credit. I've been on Aaron Glenn like so many other Jets fans have been, and it's been a tough start, and sometimes he's looked out of place. They were getting lit up in the first two quarters on offense. They made adjustments defensively that slowed down Cincinnati, and he did a very nice job of understanding the game flow. He went for two when they were down.
Yes.
He went for two twice. As I said, let me just make sure I have this right. When they were down 31-16, they score early in the fourth quarter. They go for two, make it, get to 7. And then after Cincinnati kicks a field goal, the Jets score again. They go for two again. They make it. So when they finally score that last touchdown, they kick an extra point. They win by a point. So it's like Aaron Glenn just flipped all the right levers and got the team to a place it needed to be. And in general, it doesn't mean the Jets are now going to go on some magical run, but they just needed this, and they got it.
They really did. And we can watch some sound in a second here from Glenn, but Justin Fields went through it this week. No matter what he says he knew or whatever he heard or didn't hear, to go out and play the way he did, he's not the future of the team, not long term, but to go out and play the way he did, and for them to run the ball the way they did, they were in a place close to crisis, and they got their way out of it. And if we want to watch this Glenn locker room sound,
to the point about Fields, he said in his press conference, he's like, I'm going to be a little vulnerable here, but I was actually lying in my closet crying earlier this week. And then he's a guy that's big on faith, and he said that it was, it's obviously been a trying time, and he's had to lean on his faith and his trust in God, and that's the snapshot of when you're the quarterback of an 0-7 team, the pressure of the NFL and that scrutiny on you, and what happened with Woody.
Yeah.
And by the way, the law of Woody is anytime he says something, within a week, something will happen to prove everything he said stupid and dumb.
Well, critique them weekly in the front of a microphone, please. How about that?
And so, it will be rendered meaningless and silly within 7 days. And sure enough, Justin Fields ends up going into this game because Tyrod Taylor can't play and plays well. Here's Aaron Glenn in the locker room after the first Jets win of the season.
I don't have all the numbers and all that right now. But, man, defense, when it counted, you stepped your up and you made it. And we had to make offense, 500. Grand, 254 rushing yards. Man, I love this group. And, man, from here on out, grit. Because I told you during the offseason, man, we have to create an advantage. We did. But you showed all the grit in the world to win this game. Let's have a good flight home. Have a great week, man. I love this group, man. Let's call it up.
I'm happy for Aaron Glenn. Yeah. I'm happy for Justin Fields. I'm happy for my dad. I'm happy for myself. I'm happy for my sons. My son got a Sauce Gardner shirt before the season started, hasn't worn it once to school because he's embarrassed. He's like, I'm wearing this shirt tomorrow. I'm like, that's what it's about. And you know who it made me think of, Connor? The boy.
Okay.
I hate
the
this
boy
team.
was very happy. He'll go to sleep tonight and actually feel good when he wakes up in the morning. And that matters, Connor.
He's probably flying home on a private jet with his parents, right, Connor?
Yeah, I don't know if they get the games in Qatar or Saudi, wherever they were vacationing this weekend.
Dig it in on this, huh?
Yeah.
All right, good. All right, let's move on to Charlotte. Oh, yeah. Bills, Panthers. I try to, I drafted this game. Tried to talk myself into it. Never could. I was like, this is going to be a bloodbath. And sure enough, it was. The Bills, and to Sean McDermott's credit, always kick ass coming out of the bye, and they did just that on Sunday. James Cook, an absolute menace, runs for a career-high 216 yards and 2 touchdowns, basically in 3 quarters of action. Josh Allen chipped in with 3 touchdowns because why not? And the Bills roll over the Panthers with an overmatched Andy Dalton at the helm, 40-9. Josh Allen improves to 8-0 following a bye week. And, the James Cook, I think, we were talking about, we were talking before the show, Mark, about that trade. You made an insane fantasy trade late last night where you shipped Saquon Barkley off your roster for a bunch of spare parts. To change the vibes of your team? What was the?
Yeah, I needed to shake up the locker room. I've got a large front office of people that I staff, and I've thought about I'm going to fire most of them at this point. I moved Saquon Barkley and George Kittle for Rico Dowdle and a couple other pieces of garbage, and
really
paid
smart.
The price. And I'm the laughing
fine.
stock of my high school friends. So
it's a bad trade because Mark already told us this. It's a bad trade when there's conversation with the league. Should we allow this trade? Like if you're the one that made the trade where they don't even know if it's fair to the league, it's like, oh, maybe I could take that one back.
Well, all Saturday you're waiting for 12 friends that you've known since 1985 to say yes or no. And I also hurt one of my friends who suddenly faced a lineup with this stockade that I sent to my other friends.
Yeah, that's strange,
it's
Mark.
He's like, thanks, that was really helpful to me.
You're a real chaos agent over there, Sess Dog. But anyway, I was thinking about James Cook too, and how many people in the fantasy community, as an example, were down on James Cook and this idea that it wasn't sustainable for whatever reason. I never really understood exactly what the case was being made, but it certainly hasn't been the case because he has been one of the best players in football this season. And this was the easiest 200-yard game I've ever seen, which is, I don't want to take away from Cook, who scored on runs of 64 and 21 yards in this game. But he was just like untouched through just open prairie fields. So like the Panthers coming off a 3-game winning streak. Yes, Dalton, the offense was worse with Dalton at the controls. Okay. And I'm starting to think maybe this is the end for Andy Dalton at our level here. But the defense also was not nearly up to the task of the Bills. And it just wasn't a reminder of the Bills' might, that it's in them. And at 5-2, without even playing their best football this season, they're going to be okay.
Although, are you worried about this Ed Oliver thing? Biceps like immediately ruled out. Like that is like a holy shit moment, I think, for me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So Ed Oliver left this game, I believe, in the first half or early in the second half with what was labeled a biceps injury, and he was immediately ruled out. And you have to, with those injuries, same thing with like triceps too, you just hope it's not ruptured, because then it's over. And if you take him out of that rotation or take him out of that defense, off that defensive front, yes, that is a major issue. But we'll wait and see what happens there. Here was some Josh Allen sound on his great running back, his underrated running back.
I mean, when you got James Cook, just let him cook.
Bang. How about that?
Oh, God.
Let James Cook cook.
That might have been AI. I'm not even sure that was real. But like,
the Bills defense sacked Andy Dalton 7 times, forced the veteran into 3 turnovers. It was 43 by the third quarter. Nobody even finished this game. Slaughter. Any other questions on this game? I'm here if you need them. If I'm
I
a
will
Panthers
ask you
fan,
one question:
I'm concerned.
Are the Bills a great team? Or are they just? Are they 2025?
There's nothing I
great?
can tell you about this game. There's nothing I can tell you about the Bills' actual ceiling from this game.
Yeah.
All I know is they absolutely slaughtered a team on the road that was missing their starting quarterback. But it is impressive for it to be this grotesque. A blowout. But especially if Oliver misses time or is done. I'm not there to say they're ready to roll, but we'll see. We'll see. All right, let's move on. AFC East, man. That's 2-0 for the AFC East. How about What?
I told myself I wouldn't do this again, and here we are. I'm 1 game behind, but before we move on,
why can't you do this?
About to move on.
How could you be so great at producing, Justin, but always get the lock? What is it? How can we help you?
I need some sort of here's what I'm going to start doing. I'm going to get Post-it notes, and I'm going to put them right in front of my camera so that I can't miss it, and then I will know not to miss it. But anyway, Dan, you locked the Bengals by...
I did.
Not just by 6, but by 12 because of our rule.
And you know what's weird? At the end of the third quarter, I was like, I got this in the bag.
You were kind of rolling at the end of the third quarter, sure.
In fact, I have one of those dopey win probability stats for you. Per Next Gen Stats, the Jets win probability was at 2.9% with 8:41 left in the game. How about that? Down 38-24. So that's one of those locks where, okay, I'll take the L because my team won a football game. And sometimes you just want to watch your team win a football game.
Well, you've been backed into a human corner where like the only way you can watch your team win is for you to suffer in some other sort of parlor game scenario like locks.
That is, yeah. That's life, though. Life likes to throw in those little daggers on you. Well, one more thing. 2 more things on this Carolina side. First of all, I said it on Thursday, and I stand by it even more. I don't understand how Rico Dowdle, especially after Mark traded for him, can be as amazing as he was for those 2 games, and then you just put him in a timeshare, and neither guy's doing anything right now. Chuba Hubbard got 60% of the touches, 12 for 34, 2.8 yards per carry, negative 15 yards over expected. Rico 8 for 54, plus 16 yards over expected. Do you think maybe, Mr. Canales, you should let Rico Dowdle play football more? Just think about it for next week.
Why did I trade for a timeshare? This isn't my parents going to Palm Springs.
It was
it's a disastrous scenario.
It was a very bad trade by you, Mark, but we're going to move forward. Also, here's this. I think you guys, especially Mark and Connor, after Thursday's show with the boy, you might like this. Here's the mascot for the Savannah Bananas absolutely trucking a child in the goal line. Boom! You like that, don't you?
Describe
Okay,
for our
good.
audio listeners, like
Boom! He throws an absolute forearm shiver, the mascot, to this 7-year-old boy, and Connor's like, "Oh, but look how expensive his uniform is."
No. He's in terrible tackling. He's in terrible tackling position though, so that's what happens. I mean, nobody's
That's
telling
assault, brother.
No one's telling these kids about life. So this
that's
is
an
life.
adult
that is a
versus
lesson.
a child.
Getting a bad
That's
spot.
actually like a punch. That's not even a forearm shiver or a stiff arm.
There was
Anyway.
also a woman in street clothing tracking them from behind. I don't know what kind of contest that was. We don't know.
Not a serious one. An exhibition. This is supposed to be an exhibition. All right, the Patriots now, can they keep the undefeated vibes going in the AFC East? Let's check in Foxborough. I like this one. Kind of has like a little Stevie Nicks solo
Sure.
vibe to it. Stand back, stand back. The Patriots keep rolling. They let the Browns hang around in the first half. They took a 2-point lead into the tunnel, and then they just go off, scoring 3 touchdowns in the third quarter, and they coast to a 32-13 win. That is 5 straight wins for the Patriots, who keep pace in the AFC East. This could, the Patriots have a very favorable schedule, and they're playing very well on both sides of the ball, and it is certainly now coming into focus that this could be, and this could play to the Bills' advantage. Like, I think a lot of us thought that the Bills were going to just coast through another regular season and then, like, let's see what happens in January. It's like, no, if they want that division title, if they want the home game, if they want a bye week potentially, the Patriots are not going to just hand it to them. So Drake May, again, studly in this game. He threw 3 second-half touchdown passes, and they are beating teams handily week after week now. And, Mark, they did it despite Myles Garrett finishing with 5 sacks in this game. And Myles Garrett having 5 sacks in a game in which the Browns lost by 3 touchdowns. If that doesn't paint the picture of like modern Cleveland football and Myles Garrett, I don't know what does.
Yeah. Well, they're wasting his career. And at the end of this game, rightfully so, he was visibly agitated with the current state of affairs, whipped his helmet down. This is not a good football team. And here we see it. If you're watching on YouTube, he's just super. Myles Garrett has had enough. Now, you might have needed to go further to get off this team in the offseason. We can save that for another day. But like, this was not a good setup. And I think we saw that from the start, that this is an offense that is one of the worst NFL offenses I've ever watched. And it's not just Dylan Gabriel's fault. But Dylan Gabriel we can see it with our eyes. And if you're watching on YouTube, they're putting out these memes where he looks like is that a doll? What is that? They're basically saying he's about a foot tall. And like, he plays short. He's not someone that inspires, and they don't have a lot of parts around him if they can't run the ball. Carson Swessinger, the only great hope that they have, had a high ankle sprain and is out for 4 to 6 weeks. Like, look it's falling apart. And I don't know what the argument is for the coaching staff beyond we told you that no matter what, we'll keep you. Because Mike Vrabel was on the Browns coaching staff a year ago and saw how they operate, had some pretty choice words for how the Browns offense is to deal with. Here we go.
We got to take care of the ball better and continue to find opportunities. They hadn't turned it over. And then when their gimmick plays ran out, I thought we played pretty good defense.
Gimmick
It's interesting, right? Like, what do you take on that, Connor? Like a coach kind of they always choose their words carefully. Was that like sending some type of messaging to Stefanski about his offense, or, any type of heat that's between them potentially?
I don't know if it's heat, and I'd be curious to go back and rewatch them intricately to see if there was maybe some sort of a way where they were disagreeably blocked. Was there something where he felt like his guys were being put in danger, like a crackback or something like that, where he felt like that was out of bounds and it was the only way that they were moving the ball, or the fact that he might just not have any respect for it? Because it's weird. I mean, everything about his time in Cleveland, when you talk to people there, they loved Vrabel. He was just this like force of energy and goodwill. And, I wouldn't imagine him having any animus against them, but we'll see. But to everybody's point here, I mean, I just think everybody, it's a year late. I mean, I remember us talking about this last year. If I was Kevin Stefanski, I wanted to be traded because I wanted to get out and I wanted to get into this last coaching cycle. The only silver lining for the Browns, and this is insane for this to come out of my mouth in particular, is I want to see Deshaun Watson for 7 games. I know that's crazy, but that is the one thing that this team could be like. I mean, is there anything left? Like, this guy played a little bit better before he got hurt, but that's how bleak it is. But I'm just saying, I'm being real. Like, this is the only thing left. Like, could he play well with this core of young players? Could Harold Fannin and Judkins, who got hurt in this game, I know, but like, could you put them together and maybe form the basis for something? But that's how bleak it's gotten.
And we could talk about
this. And to that point, real quick, like it's a Patriots story, not a Browns one.
Right.
Like, they had a number of years they needed to reinvent who they were. Look at where they are compared to where the Browns are.
I mean, they had 1 year. Yeah. 2. Yeah.
And we'll talk about it over the next week or whatever. But yeah, Shedeur Sanders was inactive in this game. He's the other guy that you would want to get a look at, I would think, unless there's more to that story. And something tells me there might be more cooking around Shedeur Sanders and the Cleveland Browns. But stay tuned there. Yeah, Drake May, just last thought on him. He is as impressive as everyone says he is. And this game I thought was especially telling, even though the Browns stink and you should win this game at home, and they did. But when you take a beating like he did, he got sacked 6 times, 5 by Garrett, of course. He doesn't blink. He was stepping into his throws. He had multiple downfield strikes in this game. So even with the offensive line not able to contain Garrett, he finished with 171 passing yards on throws of 15-plus air yards, 3 touchdowns, and 50 yards on 7 carries. So he's the real deal. The Patriots are a team to watch, and the AFC East is going to be a potential dogfight at the top. All right, let's move to the final AFC East related game, the Dolphins at Atlanta. Hey, man. Nothing is promised in this world. Mike McDaniel knows that. A lot of us thought he would have been fired by now. But no, he's still the head coach of the Dolphins.
I don't give a shit about what I feel.
And the Dolphins, as long as he's the head coach and Tua is the quarterback, and they have guys like Devon Achane and Jalen Waddle, they could have good days. And they had another one on Sunday rolling up, rolling up 338 yards in a 34-10 win on the road. Sessler, we'll get to the Dolphins and the positives around that. But this game, again, is another one of those, like, all right, NFC South, all right, Atlanta Falcons. Why is this still happening to you guys? And how do you get run out of your own building by what we believe to be one of the worst teams in football?
Well, I think it snuffed out any concept that anyone, and I don't really think anyone would anyways, trade for Kirk Cousins at this point. Like, he looked like the worst version of Kirk Cousins. Drake London, not in the lineup. I think that matters too. So you're right away taking out the Penix Drake London chemistry that had been there. But they ran for 45 yards with Bijan Robinson against the Dolphins defense that has been leaky to terrible. You could pick either of those terms. They'd be true for most of the season. It left me thinking that the Atlanta Falcons, who I have at times petted like a little pet team, are gutless, and they are in the wrong way unpredictable, and you don't know what you're going to get from week to week. This was a disastrous loss to a team that we thought was going to fire their coaching staff and trade half of their stars. It was a disastrous showing, And it leaves you thinking, I don't need to believe in you. Prove me wrong, but I do not believe in you, and I will not.
Here's Raheem Morris after the game. I mean, they went out and smashed us today. They had a beat on what we're doing defensively, had a beat on what we're doing on special teams. They did a nice job today. We did not. That's kind of an indictment of yourself and your staff there to Connor say that they had a beat on us. Like, it sounds like one team came in more prepared.
Well, and it's a weird one, too, because Raheem Morris was the defensive expert, and a lot of people believed was part of the reason why that Rams team was so good with Sean McVay. And then he came, and his first defensive coordinator was so bad that necessitated the hire of Jeff Ulbrich. And now you're saying that defense they have a beat on them. And I don't know. I just think that's a foul move as a coach. I don't think you do that necessarily. But to me, it's like, I think that's why there's a lot of heat circulating this team. Like, a lot of people are wondering, like, is this a job that's going to open in the offseason? Because I think that's starting to probably become a conversation.
Here's a stat, Mark, that kind of sums up the Falcons' performance. This from ESPN's Mark Raimondi, another Mark with a C, Mark. With 11:20 left in the third quarter, the Falcons had just 2 first downs and had almost as many penalty yards accrued against them, 55, as yards of total offense, 65.
It looked like a mess. I mean, again, though, because it's like we can't learn that much about them, because my thing is, like, who is Michael Penix and who are the Falcons with Michael Penix? And he's not in the lineup. But Kirk Cousins did not do his job today. It's like the Dolphins defense has been an open barn door week after week, and you've had your way with them, and it just looked like the opposite. And then you got it, Tua came in with a puffed up eye. He had some sort of an eye issue, and like they didn't know what was going to go on with that. But then he comes out and plays what I think was the best offensive performance by the Dolphins this season easily. And he was a big part of it.
Did you see the zoomed in clips of his eye? It legitimately looked like it was like at the end of Knocked Up when the roommate gets pink eye. Like his eye was legitimately.
We've all been there.
The one eye was swollen shut, and he's absolutely gassing up the Falcons defense.
Pretty good. Yeah, it's even more of an indictment of Atlanta. Yeah, it's not like Penix has been any great shakes either, though. Like there's been a lot of reason to doubt how seriously you could take them, but it's just funny because 2 weeks ago yesterday or tomorrow they beat the Bills on Monday Night Football, and it was just like, all right. And they beat the Commanders the week before that, but before that they got beat 30-0 against the Panthers, and now they've been beaten combined 54-20 by the Niners and Dolphins. So it's
we've all dated someone like this where the mood rises and falls based on the hour. And that's how I feel about the Falcons, just unpredictable. Right.
I feel like we might be edging into Mark is stranded in Arizona for a year. Are we heading toward that? Should we just throw it to break and then you tell us that story once more?
Throw it to break.
Okay. All right. Stay right there. Mark's going to tell his Arizona lost year story, and then we'll be back and continue to roll through week 8. Sessy, sometimes people come up to me on the street and they say, we love Heed the Call, but we want more.
Yeah, well, of course they would want it. How could they get it, Dan?
So I beat them with a stick. I say, stay away from me. And then I throw a piece of paper at them. And then they unfurl the paper as there's blood coming down the side of their head. And it says www.patreon.com/heedthecall.
Well, that's one way to approach the customer and the listener. So I applaud your approach, Dan.
So much great stuff on the Patreon right now. The weekly draft where we pick all the games that we're going to talk about on Sundays. A brand new episode of Throwback Podcast with me and Bob where we study the VH1 charts in November of 2000, 25 years ago. And there's also a new Rolling Thunder, isn't there, Cessy?
There is. And Jason Zumwalt and I, the great Jason Zumwalt and I, talk about our deep ties to fandom, football fandom, and why it's all kind of f***ed up.
Yep, that's the way it is, man. Everybody, check it out. If you haven't been on the Patreon, just give it a glance. You might love it. You might fall in love with us even more if that's possible. And if I do hit you with the stick, it's only because you were in my space. Don't you understand? Patreon.com/heedthecall. Oh, man. I forgot about that one wrinkle to the story, Mark, in Arizona.
Sure. No, there's
when you were
always
living in the van.
Deeper facts.
With the woman. And the relationship was kind of snuffed out, and yet you were trapped in a van in a desert. Seems
to
pretty,
say the least.
a tough sitch, as the kids might say.
To say the
Classic tough sitch. Speaking of tough sitch, the San Francisco 49ers have to play with like half their roster out every week. It seemed like it was catching up to them today in Houston. And I don't like to do that. I don't love doing that, Mark, because everybody has injuries. But some of these teams, you give a little bit more grace than others, and I'm ready to give the Niners a little grace for throwing out a stinker in Week 8. C.J. Stroud, looking like the old C.J. Stroud, the one that everybody fell in love with. He threw for 318 yards and 2 touchdowns. The offense actually puts up some points, including a 13 spot in the second quarter, and they do it without Nico Collins, who was out with a concussion. So progress for Houston offensively in a 26-15 win over the Niners. Houston improves to 3-4. San Francisco still in good shape at 5-3, but with San Francisco, it just feels like every game is a battle for them just to survive and hopefully win. Justin, the Texans are a team that you are so down on that you locked against them in this game. So I'll help you out with this one. Can't miss that. But I guess they surprised you here.
They did. And to be honest, coming out of this game, I wasn't overly impressed with Houston. San Francisco looked like a team that was really banged up, that had to travel halfway across the country, play in an earlier time slot than they're used to, and for their time zone. They were really sluggish coming out of this game. First quarter, Houston 23 plays, San Francisco 4. At 58 seconds to go in the first half, Houston 297 yards, San Francisco 30. And then San Francisco woke up a little bit. They put a drive together right before halftime. They went and George Kittle got a touchdown on national and it felt like, okay.
Justin, we were so close.
What?
We were so
that.
close.
We
don't talk about that
observe
on this show. That's a rule.
But he did. He scored a touchdown.
He scored a touchdown.
Yeah. We're
going to bleep. Everything else is being bleeped.
That's all I said. I don't know what you guys heard. That's all I said. George Kittle scores a touchdown right before halftime.
Yes. And then we'll handle it and edit, and we move forward as a show. Okay, go ahead, buddy.
And then the last play of the half, the 49ers end their 14-game streak without getting an interception by picking off C.J. Stroud. And it was like, okay, 49ers have some momentum going into halftime. They were a little sluggish. They just needed to wake up. But they continued losing guys. Jordan Elliott and Sam Okwonu on the defensive line go down. D. Winters at linebacker goes down. And it's like the Texans had a couple, maybe a handful of explosive plays in this game, but for the most part, they were able to just possess the ball, dink and dunk, take advantage of all these injuries, guys who aren't used to playing, guys who aren't used to playing together, throw the underneath stuff, pick up a few yards after catch, get the first down, and it just felt like San Francisco was one stop away from really making this a game, and they never could get that stop at the right time and answer with a score, and it was a really ugly watch. I was very bored watching, but holding out hope the entire time that the Niners would come
bury
through
the lead
for my lock, and they didn't. So credit to Houston. Again, C.J. Stroud goes over 300 yards. It was like totally underneath stuff, and he's still missing out routes high that he needs to be hitting. But their defense, the Houston defense, is more than for real. They are going to give every offense trouble. They gave this offense a lot of trouble. And that's going to keep them in games. So as long as their offense can do enough, which they did more than enough today.
I think, though, that Stroud, there wasn't a lot of pressures, Justin. Like, I think it was like 3 of his first 20 dropbacks, right? There were pressures on. But I think a couple of those times that Saleh sent those 6-man pressures, I thought were some of the times that Stroud actually made his best throws, which if you go back to the week before against Seattle, when you just look completely directionless, I thought that was one thing that I put in my pocket is like, all right, maybe we can kind of get something going here a little bit.
I would say one other thing quickly, like to possess the ball for 41 minutes.
Yeah.
If you're the Texans, and they had a drive that I think probably drove Shanahan nuts, a 16-play, 67-yard, 9+ minute field goal march that felt very Shanahan-esque to me, and just in terms of like how much like of the clock we're going to take away. Like, to do that at all for the Texans matters a little bit because they've just been so non-functional. Like, they're a more functional Browns team where your offense can do that and your defense is, I think, like a top 3 defense, top 2 defense in the league right now. The Texans, and like Will Anderson was a beast in this game too. Like, they've got things, but can you get functional before it really matters?
And Will Anderson came up with a huge pressure at the end of the game that led to a Mac Jones interception in the end zone that basically sealed the deal. So he stepped up when it really mattered most.
They kicked our ass, Kyle Shanahan said. And you could see like the gray grizzle building in his beard as the season marches on. We've got to take it like men. You like this, Mark. You like this, like, take it like a man stuff here. We've got to take it like men and come back, hopefully a little pissed off, and go to work and play better next week than we did this week. Take it like a man. The Marc Sessler story.
I do like it, but I'm a little concerned for Shanahan from an aesthetic standpoint that he is aging pretty quickly over the last 2 years, right? He just looks
He's like a U.S. president.
Let's take a look at him. Here, let's play the sound that we have.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there's not much to sugarcoat there. And I was real disappointed in how he looked for all 4 quarters. First half was unacceptable, and second half didn't get much better. So not much to say about it, except that we'll look it on the plane and figure out all the things that we know we can correct and that we did mess up. But expect the guys to come in tomorrow with a chip on their shoulder, ready to get back to work.
All right, I'm going to counterpoint this whole argument. Actually, I think he's doing some skin care.
Yeah, he looks
and
great.
He's in a hat
wisely,
there. My point
he's
is not
shaving
made
too.
with that. Yeah.
So the beard, which grew in gray last year and made him look very old, right now he's clean shaven. So he's doing the upkeep necessary to not show the truth that he's falling apart on the inside.
If I were to build an argument, that's not the visual I would have used. But I didn't know what we were going to see there.
Right.
But fair enough.
So, eggs on our face. Okay. All right, let's move to New Orleans. Oh, God, the Saints, man. I can't.
Yeah.
I try to watch the Saints, and it's just like... I'm a Jets fan. And I'm like, man, these Saints suck. Anyway, Tampa Bay. They were the latest team to stomp the Superdome Crusaders. Getting an Anthony Nelson interception and then stiff arm of Spencer Rattler, who was benched by halftime in this game. It was kind of the play that defined a ho-hum business-like 23-3 win for the Bucs over the Saints. The Bucs are 6-2, I believe, for the first time in franchise history, or something close to it.
They are
Saints
6-2.
Buried at 1-7 in the NFC South. Mark, yeah, that was my takeaway. That the pick six, from that point on, we're just kind of in cruise control. What did you take out of this?
Well, you're right. And you texted the group at one point that it wasn't pleasant for you to watch the Saints. And I think that your argument grew as the game advanced.
I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's the lighting in the Superdome or just the general malaise that continues to hang over this organization in the post Sean Payton, Drew Brees glory run. Like, there's just kind of something like a cloud, which is ironic because they play in a dome, but and I think part of it for me anyway is just like an outsider watching the Saints. It's like they've still never really rebooted the machine and invested in like a glory boy young quarterback and really started over. And it's like, you guys got to start over. And I'm watching Rattler struggle in this game, and then they put Shuck in, and it's just like, God, these guys are boring too. Can we properly suck and reboot the machine? Maybe they'll actually do it this year.
The problem for them now is that when I felt like more promising about watching Spencer Rattler, and I think he really did, he took them to the end of games where they had a chance to win like 4 times this season. But now they're turning the ball over, and he's turning the ball over, and he's been benched. I don't even think it was right to bench him, to be honest, like with what they've got around him. But the Bucs had 4 takeaways today. You mentioned one of them. They're lucky. Antoine Winfield, who is, I think, one of the greatest defenders in the league, like should have had a touchdown on what was a punched out fumble. And it's another whistle scenario where he should have had a touchdown if we want to look at these plays correctly. And there's another play.
Man. So sick of it.
Well, there's another play with Chris Olave where a similar thing happened. He should have had a touchdown then too. That would have been 6 takeaways and 3 defensive touchdowns. So while the game score doesn't look marvelous for the Bucs, and they're very compromised, they're missing so many people, but like they look like my one concern, because the real thing is what's up with the Bucs at 6-2. Like they cannot win real games with this many people missing. I would be very concerned about real games they have to play, as the soundbite correctly mentions. The coach.
Big boo.
Alan
Both
Moore.
players.
How much does it suck though if you're Tyler Shuck and like on your 3rd NFL pass, Antoine Winfield just like squeezes the ball in between his inner thighs and just takes it away in the most improbable interception of the season? You're just like, all right, not our day today.
Not love.
Toughy sitch. Anything else from this game, Mark?
Not really. It was Baker's worst game of the year, but again, it's like it's one of these 6 teams that are missing like so many people that I'm gonna mulligan. I'll give a mulligan on it because it's just like this was a mess. It's a messy divisional game, but their defense stood up.
I want to give somebody pop. Actually, I'm gonna welcome into the Kicker Club tonight. Chase McLaughlin
did a good job.
Hey, listen, we're halfway through the season, just about the regular season, and that man has been perfect from 50+ this year. I think he's up to 9 for 9, and that's a weapon. That's a real weapon. He kicked 3 second-half field goals from 52 or more yards. So in a day, like you said, Mark, where the offense wasn't doing a good job putting the game away, McLaughlin kept it from getting very interesting. And now the Bucs get a bye, Sessy, before they get the Patriots in a very fun game on November 9th. And the Saints have to go on the road here in L.A. to get stomped by the Rams next. You know what? Suck with grace. You got your win. And let's get one of these young quarterbacks, Saints, and let's just start over. Let's just do this thing the right way. Ellen Moore. And you know who else wants that?
Ellen Moore.
That's who he wants too. He's like, I don't want to just be like kind of caught in this like Twilight Zone here. Bad lighting in the Superdome and like all these boring ass games. Like, let me be part of building something for real. All right. I have nothing else to say. I'm sorry. Connor, anything else to add on that?
Just a tough day for like the Superdome operational staff. It's just like, what the man? I thought we provided a nice game day experience, you know?
Let's have the electricity go out during the Super Bowl for 12 minutes and see how that, the stink on that still sits around.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's the color of the turf, or that's like, there's a couple stadiums that are like that for me. I think Atlanta's similar too. And that's a beautiful building. We've been there for the Super Bowl, and like, but on television, it just doesn't have a great look. The turf lighting combination. I don't know. Anyway, sound off in the comments if you don't like the lighting at the Superdome. Let's move to Lucas Oil Stadium? Lucas Oil Field? I don't know. Colts, Titans. Ooh.
Wow. Yeah.
Congo line?
Shit.
Are we at Sandals? Is that a steel drum, Justin?
Might be. This is one of our we got 4 new tracks in the rotation today. So.
Woo! Nice, bro. Way to keep it fresh. Jonathan Taylor. My God, Jonathan Taylor. There has not been an MVP at running back since Adrian Peterson in 2012. Taylor might be the dude to end that dry spell at that position. He scored 3 more touchdowns, had just 12 carries to get to 153 yards. Daniel Jones says, whatever, bro. I'm like secretly awesome now. I'll throw 3 more touchdown passes, and then I'll check out of the game. Colts cruise 38-14 over the woebegone Tennessee Titans. Justin, this one played out. Another one of these games that played out kind of to script. And the Colts, I didn't even think the Colts were necessarily playing very well in this game. And the lead just kept on getting bigger and bigger and bigger.
Well, the Titans were missing Jeffrey Simmons, and they're also missing like NFL caliber players across the roster. So that'll
problematic.
Hurt you. They're missing a head coach. They don't have an offensive line coach anymore because Bill Callahan left with his son, so they just promoted 2 assistants and said, you guys combine and do the job now. So yeah, the Titans are like a joke of a team. They're not like a real professional team. They're just like a team playing out the string with a rookie
There's
quarterback.
like a snarky, like Janine Garofalo type vibe to the takedown from Justin this week. Go on. I'm enjoying it.
Mike
It's like a
McCoy,
Daria type vibe.
Has a team ever fired an interim head coach?
I don't know, man.
Mike McCoy had one of the most cowardly punts of the season today from the Colts' 42-yard line on 4th and 3.5, down by 10 in the third quarter. Decides to punt the ball. They net 22 yards of field position out of that, and the next play is a Jonathan Taylor 80-yard touchdown run, which basically iced the game. Not that the Titans had a chance.
Don't get mad about the small stuff like that. When you're in this, I've been here, Jeff Ulbrich last year. Once the wheels are off with an interim coach, try not to get lost in the minutia of how bad you are. Just like grind through the day. Just
100% agree.
Grit your teeth. You know what I mean?
When your rookie quarterback, #1 overall pick, after the team decides to punt there, is caught on camera walking to the sideline saying, "The f*** are we doing, Mike? Right. Go for it." Then it becomes a little bit of a bigger story.
Well, maybe if he was a true leader, he'd stay on the field and defy his head coach, like Varsity Blues style. Bud Kilmer, Mike McCoy. You know McCoy doesn't have any actual juice.
Nope.
Kilmer is
Mike McCoy said after the game that because Paul Kuharsky, credit Kuharsky for always bringing the tough questions, asked him why he isn't the first one to speak in the locker room to the team after a game. And Mike McCoy said, well, like the players like to talk first or something. And then he basically said that he's just following orders. It's like, are you an interim head coach or are you just a cutout cardboard human person that stands on the sidelines in a headset? Or are you actually doing any? I don't know. I mean, the Colts are a real Super Bowl contender. They improved to 7-1, the best record in the league. Jonathan Taylor's the best running back in football. Their defense with Lou Anarumo is cooking, and it's going to be tough to stop them. They're really good.
I would ask a rhetorical question, like will our power rankings honestly reveal what they really are this week versus, we're cutely sitting them down at like,
yeah, after they stomp the Tennessee Titans, I have to rethink everything.
Well, but they've not been stopped at all. Like, they've just not been stopped at all.
They're not even a real team.
We have them at 3.
Where do you want them? Then put them at 1 if you want them at 1. Go ahead.
Well, I might. I might because
have a ball, Mark.
Well, I see mediocrity scattered and dotted around the league, and they're like kind of trying to tell us that something could be a little more special. But we'll see what we do. That's tomorrow.
Let's see. Their last 5 wins: at Titans, home Raiders, Cardinals, at Chargers, home Titans. So, but to the credit, now we're going to get a little more fun. Next week at Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
That's a good test. That's a good test, Mark.
And to their credit, they've destroyed all these teams that you just listed,
They're
including
taking
the Chargers.
care of business. Well, the Cardinals, no, but everyone else, yeah.
I agree. It's a soft schedule thus far.
It's not their fault.
Do you guys want to check in on Carly Ursay-Gordon from the sidelines this week?
Always.
Thought she was looking pretty cool in this little sequin, sparkly,
striking woman
looking jacket thing. Very cool.
I love that outfit.
It's for those that are listening, it is a USA themed jacket with sequins for the various red, white, and blue. And she is taking notes. She's left-handed, which tells you she is a cerebral type individual. And yes, she's on top of everything. That's what she is. She's on top of it all. Carly
Is that latex?
Gordon.
Am I wrong? Is that flat out a latex outfit?
Latex?
It's it's like a shiny
latex.
Type. It's a shiny top.
Like the material they use for prophylactics?
Well, a version of it, like a more sturdy version.
No,
I'll
she's
leave
not
it
wearing
there. I don't need to go
condoms.
deeper into the commentary there.
No, that's a sequined outfit. There's sequins. I don't know. That's shimmering. Beautiful. Beautiful look from Carly Ursay-Gordon. All right. That's it. What a slate. But it was still fun. Had fun with you boys, as always. I would kind of want to give the final word on this wonderful Sunday night, week 8. to Terry Bradshaw.
Okay.
Who is, he's just picture him in the safari, and he's a lion, and he's very white around the face, and he's just a lion in autumn or winter. Winter. Lion in winter. Terry Bradshaw, take it away.
But the thing that I would worry about more so in Washington is the other day I text Andy Reid, and I got a text back. And I thought it was Andy Reid, but it's some guy selling pigs. But it sounded good. I should have told y'all that, so y'all would have thought I actually talked to Andy Reid, but I didn't.
It's like what? It's like a guy you see outside Yankee Stadium on the corner.
What's actually happening there?
I would have just given him $1. All right. God bless you, man. Terry Bradshaw, ladies and gentlemen. Multiple Super Bowl champion. All right, we'll be back on Monday. How many Monday night games tomorrow? Oh, one, baby. There we go. We are normalcy is returning to the NFL schedule. So we'll have that. We'll unveil our power rankings. You already know where Mark's going to put the Indianapolis Colts, apparently. But yes, we'll also have a recap of Commanders Chiefs. And by the way, Mark, Chiefs Colts in a few weeks. So that's for you, buddy. Chiefs number one in our power rankings.
I believe in what I'm going to do with the power rankings firmly.
Very good. That's very important. You have to have that feeling. All right. Connor, you have a great night.
Hey, thanks. You too, guys.
All right. Everybody, thank you for your support. See you Monday. And until then, do what you must. Heed the call.